thank you for joining me on this webinar and joining Aaranyak. And I thank, first of all, Aaranyak for organizing this webinar series where I'm getting opportunity to talk to a lot of people over this webinar, over internet, virtually. And I hope you guys will be are enjoying all this series of webinar, and I hope you will be also enjoying this one. I would like to start with this short title called "Counting Tigers for Effective Conservation." A lot of time we have been doing conservation work, but making it effective on ground is a challenge, because conservation is a game where most often we tend to lose, but we need to win to save our natural world. So why we count tigers? To answer this, I would say that the natural ecosystems are diverse where the tigers live. And also the species living in different ecosystems are diverse, as you know. Similarly, natural resources are also diverse in each ecosystems. They are not same everywhere. Therefore, number of individuals of a species are different in different ecosystems. So being at the top of the food chain, the carnivores, the tigers, and alike, it is very important to know how many tigers are living in an area, along with other predators and their prey animals. Because without knowing numbers in an unit area of a habitat, its management can be faulty and can go haywire. However, it is not possible to count all the species and all the animals in an area. For example, in this photograph, the collage, you can see there are a lot of animals, and all are not possible to count, particularly those without natural marking or any features which helps distinguishing an individual apart from the rest. Those with natural markings like tigers, the first photograph in the collage you can see, or the leopard, the last photograph on the first row, or the clouded leopard, are easy to identify because they have natural marking, the patch or rosettes or the stripes. This is what we use for counting tigers. How difficult is counting tigers? I would like to give you this background so that when we go further in this presentation, you are more acquainted. So, for example, if you want to know how many tigers in an area, you can go out, take a camera, lots of battery backup for 60 days, and try photographing all the tigers or as much as you can in that area, and do that within a specific period of time. However, that would be an Herculean task, right? So probably humanly not possible. That's why the better and smart technology is used to assist wildlife managers and conservation scientists in this particular task of counting animals, particularly tigers. So here comes the camera trap, the tool that is used for counting tigers all over the country today and different parts of the Asia where tigers live. So it's an electronic device that senses body temperature and movement of an animal walking in front where the frame of the camera is, photograph is. And we used different types of camera. Here is one made by Reconyx, made in USA, which is also an infrared camera. It can take photographs in the night, in the day, without white flash. And then we have another camera we widely use nowadays, or mostly we use this. It's called Panthera camera. And these cameras are very small, lightweight, waterproof, and very effective, and very good actually. We have been using for last almost 7-8 years without any trouble, and very durable. So stripes of a tiger never lie. And this is true. With our hand, we have 10 fingerprints, right? and they are all different for every individual that we live on this earth today. And that's why we have all these biometric authentication systems today. And even, I know this is the case in case of tigers. Every tiger has different stripes. Um, even the stripes on right as well as left bank of the tigers are different. So I would say that unique stripe pattern of tigers, like this one you can see, can help us in identifying different individuals. If you see, this is a tiger A, for example, and the tiger B. I have enlarged a portion of the flank for your keen observation. You see that the stripes are different on the same flank, and that's what is scientists using to identify different individuals. And then we place camera traps in the forest area, which is a very tedious and systematic work. We identify suitable camera trap locations, place a pair of camera on either side of the trail so that the two cameras take photograph of both sides of the tiger when it walks on the trail. And we operate these cameras for about 40 to 50 days in one particular season. And when you put all these cameras, I'm giving you a map here of Kaziranga. It looks like this when you map it. There are lots of dots over the area you are camera trapping. Just ignore this map for the moment. And then to place the camera trap, we always look for appropriate, good signs of tiger, active signs of tigers. Like one you can see here in this corner. Hold on a second. So here you can see one pug mark, and here you can see one scat. So this we use always to identify a best spot for a camera. So tiger is why we are thinking about talking about only tigers these days, because this is a flagship species, including rhinos, elephants. Some places it will be different. So why flagship species? The flagship species are so that when we want to save an ecosystem, we find out which species will work as a flag bearer. And if we save them, all other species or the habitat or the ecosystem can be saved. So tiger is such an animal. India is home to the largest numbers of wild tigers in the world. We have almost 3,000 tigers today. And most of these tigers live in about 50 tiger reserves all over the country. And they are protected forests across 19 states in habitats that are rich in biodiversity. So saving tigers means we are saving an ecosystem, and the complete services of an ecosystem is available for humankind. We are not saving tigers for tigers, we are saving tigers for us, we are selfish species. So that means there is no hunger, no poor health, no premature death among the millions of people living in India, as a tiger or the tigers protect an ecosystem or protect the ecosystems that provide us food and water in particular, including other services. Therefore, it is important to protect habitats and manage species like tigers to conserve them for our future generations. The whole natural resources we are enjoying today is not just for us, it is also for future generations. So that's where it comes the evidence-based conservation story of tigers of Manas. I'm going to tell you a story today, which is from Manas, and it's on evidence-based conservation. So many of you will know that Manas has gone through a turbulent past. Since late 80s to early 2000, around 2000, the park has gone through a lot of trouble because of the agitations and armed conflict in the borderland area. So during that process, the infrastructure and natural resources of Manas got depleted. As you know, rhino was completely extirpated from Manas There were around 100 rhinos in Manas before the agitation started. And by the end of it, there were none. So rhinos had to be introduced in Manas around 2005 or 6. And then what about the tigers? So we don't know actually what happened to the tigers. There was no study. Rhinos were still being counted by the government, and this is a flagship species and dependent for conservation. So once rhino introduced, the protection system increased in the park, and slowly research started working in Manas. Aaranyak has been present in Manas for a long time. Through my colleague, Dr. Vibhuti Prasad Lokar, Namita Brahmo, Alolika, Jyoti, all these people have worked in Manas for a long period of time. And this is what Manas looks like as a national park today. It also has in the western part the first edition, and it's an ecosystem which is diverse with forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, and riverine ecosystem. And on the north, you have the Bhutan. And if you see this map, we call this TRAMCA area, Transboundary Manas Conservation Area. We work together with the Bhutan counterparts. Here, it's about 6,500 square kilometer area. And if you see this area within the red square, that's what the core area of this transboundary landscape, which includes Manas National Park, Royal Manas National Park, and the first edition of the Manas National Park, 1, 2, and 3. And this is where we are focusing today for our conservation work on this talk. So many different species of predators and prey live in Manas. Once again, I bring in this for refresh your memory on this collage. Also, a lot of people from the fringe village, the southern part of the Manas is very thickly populated, and a lot of people also live in these villages, and they are dependent on the resources of Manas, because Manas was open for these people to extract natural resources for a long period of time, and therefore they got dependent on Manas, and they are extracting natural resources. So it's a case where it's more important about managing the people than the wildlife at a stage when the park is recovering. So in 2015, we came up with our partners, Panthera Wildlife Conservation Trust, Aveli, and the Forest Department, BTC. We came up with a long-term project, which is called Manas Tiger Conservation Program. And this program relies on collective effort of different approaches: law enforcement, conservation livelihood, conservation education, biological monitoring. So these four work together as a system, so that the population of tigers in Manas can be increased to a desirable number. So for effective conservation of tigers in an area, we have thought out this approach that we identify the anthropogenic threats in that area, particularly here in Manas, then engage with local communities outside the park, strengthen law enforcement inside the park. The forest department is solely responsible for that, and monitor effects of all these interventions. Whatever is being done in Manas, whether it's working or not, we need to monitor that. I'll come one by one. Identified anthropogenic traits. We have from those, okay, let me come back. So when we use biological monitoring cameras for tigers, we also get pictures of people. So it is not always possible to find people inside the park and identify what they are doing. So using those photographs, we segregated the different types of people, or why people enter inside the park. So for example, firewood collection, fishing, and TFP collection, grass or thatch collection, livelihood grazing, livestock grazing, and there are some unknown people. We don't know why they are inside the park at that point of time. So if you see here, the traits are dynamic, not stable in one place, just like an ecosystem. In 2015, This is what is the observation from the probability of occurrence. So this is how threats are distributed. The more you are close to the boundary, on the southern boundary of the park, there is more threat. Those are presented by dark black squares. And as you go inside the park towards north, you will see lesser and lesser threats, and then there are no threats when you are far into the Bhutan border. And threats are also dynamic over the day. So here we find that most of the threats, for example, in this case, NTFP collection, the first one, and the uh, fishermen going into the park are around the noon. So this has helped actually to understand how patrol should be planned inside the park. Because if the patrollers are inside the park in the early morning and late afternoon, they are not going to meet these people or to tell them not to come inside the park. So then engage with local communities, which is outside, was done by a strong team from Aaranyak and also local communities. So we have done a socioeconomic study before we intervene with them. The survey was conducted by local youth who were trained to do the survey. And then we involved the local communities in peer exercise to understand what kind of interventions will help them to reduce their dependence on the park. And then the interventions came one by one, and it was monitored properly so that evidences are collected. Then also did conservation education and the fringe villages among the communities with different tools. So one of that was the conservation theater. Then meetings and educational talk in the schools and colleges, and also a lot of publications. Then strengthen law enforcement, which is inside. There was ground assessment done to help the forest department develop the capacity of the frontline staff, then continue them mentoring so that they can understand and appropriately apply the understanding they have or learning they have done over a period. Continue with refresher courses with them and arrange logistics as required as much possible to support them in the law enforcement process who are the boot on the ground. So it also helped us in understanding how one individual is dependent on the park resources, where from they are. So we have developed, helped the forest department to develop where from these people are coming, what are they doing, and identify, verify, yes, the persons are involved in natural resource extraction, and supports were accordingly provided to them. So then this is the part of the law enforcement support. You see on this map, all the yellow dots are actually an encounter of people who are collecting natural resources in the park. So in this system, all data is collected and recorded so that you know how many kilometers of foot patrol has been done, and how many total kilometers of effort has been done here. And then you also know what are the seizures taking place, what are the illegal wildlife crime happening in the landscape. Then comes the indicators as evidence for conservation. So when we plan all these activities, we also picked up some indicators which are going to help us. Yes, conservation is working or not. For each of them, we have indicators which are evidence for conservation. So monitor effects of the interventions. We have, if you see in these two photographs, 2015 and 2017, under those red parabolic areas, you can see the threats were going down in the interior areas of the park, and it is more concentrated on the boundary of the park. That means those areas were sanitized and have least disturbances where people, wild animals can come and breed. Similarly, number of encounter of threats inside the park went down in Basbar in Tuyapara range, which is depicted here by the red line. You can see here, this is in firewood collection or fishing, they have gone down over a period of time. Then changes in annual income from sustainable livelihood. I have two examples here for you. These people were all dependent on the park resources before we intervene. And in 2016, when we created a baseline, Khega Bosumotari had an annual earning of 20,000 rupees. Due to our interventions, his annual earning in 2018 went up more than double. So he was no more dependent on the park resources. He was sustainably doing his work right next to his home. Similarly, Savitri Burman, who had an income of 12,000 per year in 2016, her income also tripled actually, more than tripled in 2018 to 40,000 per year. These are the evidence we created before and after interventions or during interventions to understand how conservation efforts are helping the Manas National Park. So again, these are the photographs of the individual tigers of Manas. So this is an evidence for us. How many tigers were there? So if you see these two graphs here, biological monitoring results, in 2011, there were 8 tigers as far as minimum number of tigers in the park here. And in 2016, there are 15, almost double. And then, as you see here, the tiger number are steadily increasing, and the population estimates of the tiger in the Manas National Park was increased from 12.46 to 29. So that's a huge increase over a period of time. And this is more now. I have not been able to present the recent data here. Hopefully that will be done on a later stage. So this is an interesting observation here. The effects of interventions are working in the park. Then also we have been monitoring poaching. So tigers is continuously being poached in the park. We are losing tigers because of the interest of poachers on them. And if you see here, we have lost these tigers since 2010. There is one more tiger poached this year, which we have got evidence from the Panbari side.
Firoz,
Manas, yes.
Yes. We have about 8 minutes left. I thought I'll just give you.
Okay. I'm just closing it. I'm closing it.
Sure.
Done.
Then, yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, but the situation in Manas is changing. There is positive news coming about Manas. Manas is improving, and we need support from all fronts to save Manas further. And I would like to thank each and every stakeholders and well-wishers of Manas for their contribution. It's not only Aaranyak has done. This is what Aaranyak has found out a lot through our studies. I would also like to thank Forest Department, National Tiger Conservation Authority, Wildlife of India, and WWF as partner, and then the Manas Tiger Conservation Program and its partners. Also the Ayushi and KFW for the support to this ongoing program. And thank you very much. And I'll be happy to take questions and answers.
Okay.
I think
yes.
you have to send. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Some of the participants have sent some questions to the host. So I'll just read them one by one, and you can answer. So the first question is, can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first question is, I don't know about the name of the participant. It is, I want to know, apart from Royal Bengal, is there any initiative to count the approximate numbers of leopards in Northeast India? So that's the first question.
Thank you for the question. So there is probably no systematic effort to count the leopard in the entire Northeast India, of course. However, wherever we are working or other teams are working on tigers using camera traps, there is a number of leopards available, or at least estimates available, if not exact number. Exact number is not possible for any. So for example, Manas, we know how many leopards are there. For example, we know how many leopards are there in Kaziranga or Namdafa, something like that, but not entire Northeast India. Okay? I think estimating in entire Northeast India will be a Herculean task. Okay? So on a side, it's possible. So hopefully our results on leopard will be available very soon, because we are still working on the individual IDs of leopard. It's much more much more complicated than tiger because you have to match the rosettes, which are just small size rosettes. They all look very similar.
Yeah. So
Next question.
next question is, what substitute work do the rural people do other than collecting forest resources, and how does this affect their income?
Well, very good question actually. The local people used to be dependent on natural resources like collection of thatch or firewood, fishing inside the park. So they get those from the park and sell in the local market, as well as sustenance the local self-consumption. And that was only earning about 100, 150 to maximum 200 rupees per day. They spend about 6 to 7 hours inside the forest from going into the forest to coming out. And that is very meager income for them. So what we intervene is one of the intervention was homestead garden, which we all do. Everybody does about it. Homestead gardening is where people grow vegetables around their house, or if they have a small plot of land. And remember, most of the people we are working with in Manas are marginalized. They are either woman-headed families, they're either landless, or they have less than 2 bighas of land, not sufficient to sustain their life over that lot of. So when we intervene with homestead gardening, people started growing vegetables, which they themselves eat and sell in the market. So from that sale proceeding, they start earning money and saving it and also clearing their debt they have been through all their life. So that's how interventions are helping. That's one example. For example, some people are doing mushroom cultivation who has done a very good mushroom cultivation, and these are all locally consumed. So when you are doing a homestead garden with local vegetables, then you don't need to send these to a market 200 kilometers away. It's locally consumed, and you have saved your time and energy in marketing. I think I could answer
Yes.
your question.
Yeah. So the next question is, what do you think about the cheetah introduction in India? Will this hamper the lifestyles of tiger if they are to live in the same habitat?
Well, I don't think I will be able to answer this question because I have not done any study on cheetah or cheetah's interaction with tiger as well as lion. So I'll leave this for other scientists to
Yeah.
respond at some point.
Right. So the next question is, for monitoring the population of tiger, is there a particular season for camera trapping, or is it all over the year? If not, then why?
Okay. Good question. Well, you can monitor all over the year whenever you want, but given the access to the park and the forest areas in Northeast India, this is the winter where we basically access the park because that's when you can walk very deep into the park or the forest areas. There is less leech. There is more visibility in the forest because sometimes what happens, we in the forest, we encounter dangerous animals like Indian gaur, buffalo, or an elephant very close to us when the vegetation is very thick. So it's important that we are safe to counter tigers. So I would suggest we do it during November to March, which is the driest period here. And March, later part of the March or April onwards, there is rain, and rain brings us problem. Most often the cameras, although they are waterproof, they start getting damaged time during rain. So cameras are very important resources. We are not supposed to lose them. So that's why we do it in winter.
So the next question is regarding man-animal conflict in Northeast. What is the situation? I think you also asked particularly, about man, tiger, human
And
conflict or something
tiger.
like. Yeah.
Well, I don't know much about conflict issues, but whatever I know, I think as far as human-tiger conflict is concerned, it's very minimal in this part of the country. We have some very high-density tiger areas like Orang and Kaziranga, where there is a very frequent encounter of tigers by communities. In a sense, either their cattle are lifted by tigers, or, or most often the cattle goes into the park and graze there. And there is an opportunity some tigers will take to kill and eat cattle. And then similarly is the case in Kaziranga. Sometimes it's very rare nowadays, not that common, and they come out and kill domestic animals for food. But I would say this is not a big issue at this moment, and the government has a compensation mechanism to support this conservation, tiger conservation in those areas, tiger reserves. So I think with tigers we are still good, but I think with elephant we are at the worst situation. Man wildlife conflict.
Apparently we have less than 1 minute time remaining, and we have a lot of questions actually. So I'll download all these questions and share with the speaker, so that we can also probably answer them through email or some other media. So anyway, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. We have more webinars coming in. I'd also like to thank the speaker today. Thanks, Firoz.